Okay, well, that didn't go how we wanted it to go, right? A series loss you're never going to be thrilled about. And maybe we have to start having a conversation on things that are going wrong with this team. The one game you're upset with the offense, the next game you're upset with the pitching, then it's the offense. We're going to break it all down today.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, or the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. As always, I'm Braden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Wasco. Carter First, too, as well. Our big one, at Locked On Jays. Make sure you guys go and follow us on that Twitter account. As well, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. If you're new here to YouTube or you're listening somewhere else, go over to that YouTube page, drop a subscription so that you guys get your shorts, your live streams, your podcasts, the videos, all of them together on one place. It's sort of the hub. So make sure you guys do hit the subscribe button. It's free. You might as well do it. You just hit the sub button and the videos pop up there for you. So make sure you guys go and hit that. It really does help us out a ton as well. Lots to get. Oh my goodness, it's a Monday. It's a lot to get into, right? We got 3 games to cover, and a lot of storylines coming out of this weekend, right? You got some good ones. You got a decent amount of bad. But again, Carter, before we get into everything, I saw a lot of people online jumping ship again. And it's all of a sudden this team has a little bit of a rough time for one series. It's like blow up the organization. This year's over. Screw it. And it's like, whoa, let's pump the brakes here a little bit. All right. Like it's been going pretty solid throughout the entire start of this year against some very good baseball teams. And you lose a series. You're not going to go the entire year without losing a series, right? So I don't know. I think, yes, there are things to be critical about, and we are going to be critical about those today. But I think at the end of the day, we have to remember that this team is above 500. It's sitting second in the AL East right now. So there are complaints, but then there's also the positivity that I think something to this team has brought as well, Carter.
Yeah, people are acting like they're from Chicken Little and the sky is falling and the world is about to end. But when you think about it and you look at the Seattle Mariners, they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They have, in my opinion, the best pitching staff in all of baseball, even succeeding the Dodgers. That might be a little bit of a bold take, but Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, George Kirby's coming back. Brian Wu is one of their worst starting pitchers, and he's throwing 97 on the black. So this is a very good starting rotation. They're out of Seattle. They're obviously going to be able to hit a little bit better. Cal Raleigh is the Jays killer, the ultimate Jays killer, as we have seen. And we did see, obviously, over the weekend. So the Seattle Mariners are not a bad baseball team by any means. Just watching the Seattle Mariners, I understand how frustrated they must be, because their lineup honestly is not that good. I do like Randy Rosarena, I do like Cal Raleigh, but not a lot of depth there. So I understand as a Seattle Mariners fan that they're probably frustrated watching that baseball team. But I hate when the Toronto Blue Jays play the Seattle Mariners. I do not have fun at all. Ever since 2022, the series that I do not like talking about, it is just not usually a fun time for the Toronto Blue Jays when they do play the Seattle Mariners because they do have a good pitching staff. And since that 2022 season, the Toronto Blue Jays offense really hasn't been that good. So overall, definitely a very frustrating series. Definitely a series that Toronto Blue Jays could have won. But when you look at the pitching matchups and you do when you do account for everything that should be considered with the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays up to this point, again, you can't overreact to this series loss because, like you said, you're not going to win every single series that you play in the season. But definitely a frustrating weekend. Obviously, a very eventful weekend, though. We had a wedding social we went to. Easter is obviously this weekend. Happy Easter to everyone who does celebrate. And then you had Toronto Blue Jays baseball. So I don't know even where you want to start this. There's so many different things that we could talk about. So I think I'm going to jump to game one. And we'll talk about the defensive specialist. Another one, apparently the Toronto Blue Jays have hit on. Not very good in the infield, but we have seen the arm strength. We've known a lot about this arm strength. The Seattle Mariners had no clue, apparently, about the arm strength, but it's Addison Barger just chucking people out from left, right, center. unbelievable weekend defensively. Just really, not even the weekend you can really say. It's just the day. Unbelievable day by Addison Barger. Had 3 outfield assists in that one game and ended up leading the league in baseball after one game. 3 outfield assists in 5 games. That is very good. I guess we'll start with that. How are you feeling after Rowdy Tellez decided to, hey, I'm going to test one of the best arms in all of baseball?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic play. Fantastic plays by Addison Barger. I mean, the one outfield assist, I remember Rosarena's rounding third, stumbles a little bit, gets caught in a rundown. And it just all 3 throws were not only absolute cannons by Addison Barger, but he plays the wall correctly. He's on target. Everything that you want him to do in those plays are there. Now, I will get into a little bit of the negative when it comes around to Addison Barger, but some more positives sort of as well. Listen, with that game, that's a great win. It's a gritty win. You needed the team to at least pick up one. They did that with a 3-1 win. My issue is, I guess, with Addison Barger is that the bat sucks right now, right? Great that he's throwing guys out. Eventually, guys aren't going to test that. And then that'll a little bit it'll be great to have because you're stopping guys a base earlier, but you're not getting those outs. The team's throwing away outs on the base paths. But the bat's non-existent right now. That's a concern for me. You bring a guy up and you want to get him at bats, but if he's just not going to produce, then I don't know. But, me and you were talking before this podcast, Carter, a little bit. The good thing with Addison Barger is he shows you that he has power in his bat. Every swing he takes is he's swinging hard, and he's just not barreling them up. I think if he starts doing that, he could add a little bit of pop to this lineup. So Addison Barger still, I think it's too early to tell about how he's going to impact this team. It's great that we've seen him impact on the defensive side already, but the biggest thing I have to look out for is the offense because Daulton Varsho is going to come back. And then George Springer is going to be over there and left. Right, I guess it would be, sorry. So I guess my question is, where does Addison Barger fit in? So I don't know. Great game from him, but I think the overall picture with Addison Barger, I'm a little bit unsure of how this is going to play out.
See, for me with Addison Barger is like the defense itself. He's not very good at tracking fly balls. But again, we've seen the cannon on display. Maybe that does prevent runners from running, but you can't hold that against Addison Barger just he has a cannon and guys aren't taking bases on him because they're scared of him throwing the baseball. So with Addison Barger, I think if you have him in right field, that is a very good spot for him. I'm giving up on the Addison Barger infield saga here. I don't want to see this guy at third base. I don't want to see him at shortstop. Leave this guy in the outfield because that arm strength can be put on full display in the outfield. But this isn't necessarily about the defense because with Addison Barger, that's not really why you're having Addison Barger. It's just kind of an addition, a plus that you do have that additional arm strength. The most glaring problem on the Toronto Blue Jays right now is the most obvious thing of all time is they're not hitting home runs. They are not getting the long ball. They play the Seattle Mariners. They don't get a home run in that series. They are 29th in the league in all of baseball in home runs. They haven't gotten it whatsoever. Is Addison Barger that saving grace? Probably not. I don't think you can say you're going to plug and play him in just because he has the potential to hit 20, 25 home runs. I think he's batting .71 right now. The at-bats have not been very good for Addison Barger, and they haven't been very good at the major league level for a very long time. But with Addison Barger, with that potential, you're going to have to see something in one of these upcoming games if you're going to keep him with the major league team. But there is a lot of incentive, obviously, to keep him with that major league team because you see if everything does work out for Addison Barger, he has all the potential in the world, all the power in the world. If he can put it all together, this could be a guy that could have that little bit of a Davis Schneider spark plug effect on this team and ignite the offense, maybe get Santander going, maybe get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. going. Just having another left-handed, especially left-handed power bat in this lineup would be so nice for this Toronto Blue Jays team. But again, you can't just, keep throwing him in there and hope it works out. Eventually, he is going to have to show you something. And like you said, Daulton Varsho is coming back. I think when Varsho comes back, it's pretty obvious Nathan Lucas is probably sent down. I don't mind keeping Addison Barger with the team, but you're going to have to see something sooner rather than later, especially if you're not going to be playing this guy every single day, day in, day out, when he's a younger baseball player.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, at least. And you brought up the home run numbers and the offense struggling, especially, I don't want to say Vlad is struggling, but he's struggling to hit the long ball. Santander, he's got 2. That's great. You need him to hit more. And I'm going to get into that way more when we talk about the next two games, because there were situations where this offense needed to do damage and couldn't. And were given every opportunity to do damage and couldn't. So again, we'll get into all of that. But Carter, I guess, still talking about the game one there before we really dive into probably the meat and potatoes of what we need to discuss in being the lack of offense and the pitching performances on the Saturday and the Sunday. Bowden Francis looked good. I like Bowden Francis a whole lot. And I know you've been on the Bowden Francis train forever. He looked great. Honestly, the entire bullpen, really, that first day looked unbelievable. They just looked like they just kept rolling one after another. One guy would go in, he would come out, the next guy would go in, he would get the job done, and so on and so on. So the pitching staff for at least that first game, Carter, was awesome.
Yeah, you cannot complain about what Bowden Francis did on that mound whatsoever. And now this is becoming a huge thing for the Toronto Blue Jays. When we're going to talk about Easton Lucas and that blow-up start, now there is a lot of uncertainty. Do you roll Easton Lucas back out? Do you go to AAA? Now having Bowden Francis, if he can be that rock as your number 4 guy, that is so integral to the success of the team. Because if this does happen, if you have to throw out Easton Lucas until Alek Manoah gets back, that's another nice thing, is that this isn't going to last the entire season. But do you want to wait 3 months for Alek Manoah to come back? But in the worst case scenario, you have a bullpen day, you have some guy that you're not necessarily faithful in. It's a lot more manageable to have one of those games that you're like, oh, this can kind of be a throwaway game. We're not exactly expecting to win this game. If you have 2 of those games, if you have back-to-back where there's 2 games in a series that you're throwing away, if you're going to have to hit on every single game, you're going to have to win those other 3 games with Bassitt, with Berrios, with Kevin Gausman on the mound to have a successful season. Now with Bowden Francis there, you have 4 pitchers that I'm confident when they go out on the mound that they are going to give this Toronto Blue Jays team a chance to win. So huge props to Bowden Francis with what he's doing this year, what he was doing last year, because you need a solid arm in this starting rotation right now, especially with all things considered. Huge props to Bowden Francis, even though it is against the Seattle Mariners lineup that isn't necessarily this big thumping lineup, but great performance from Bowden.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. The Mariners don't have the most potent offense in the league, and I think we all are well aware of that. But at the end of the day, you're thrown out there to get a job done, and if you can consistently get this job done, especially through the teams that they've played so far, and Bowden Francis has faced so far this season, I think you're very happy with that. And I honestly haven't heard any complaints about Bowden Francis, because there shouldn't be any. So again, we're getting into the meat and potatoes here. We're coming up. We got to talk about game 2. We got to talk about game 3 of this series, because honestly, that's where the troubles lie. And yes, some of it, you can still look back at game 1 and say, okay, there were problems. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back. We got all that coming to you guys. And then, of course, we got our series preview. So we'll take a quick break and be right back.
Today's episode is sponsored by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes into your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. One thing I always bring up when I talk about this ad read is that I had a massive problem with eating out when I moved out into the city. I was from a small town, didn't really have access to a lot of restaurants. Got to the big city and I had a whole world of restaurants at my display. So I did have a little bit of a budgeting problem with eating out, because there was so much more accessibility than I was used to. I did have Monarch Money to kind of save me, realize that, hey, I'm spending a whole lot of money on takeout when I can just cook from my home. Realize that, and then I was able to budget for some other expenses. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money today and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
Today's episode is brought to you by Farm to Fork. Yes, one of my favorites, because you know what? They started out just with Locked On Senators. Locked On Senators were such a big fan. They go, hey, I know the Blue Jays guys. You should talk to them. We have talked. They are amazing. They are great people. And if you're a fan of premium, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door, I've got some exciting news. Farm to Fork makes it even easier to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more, all with no antibiotics, no hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes flash frozen and individually packaged for your convenience. All Farm to Fork meals are raised on Canadian farms, so when you order, you're supporting local producers. It's time to buy Canadian, and that can't be more true right now. Farm to Forks meats are top notch. I've never had such amazing steaks that were tender, juicy, and perfectly cooked. I'm a big steak guy. I buy a lot of them. Farm to Fork is the best I've had, honestly. It's better than going to the Walmart or the co-op. Go to Farm to Fork. They're delivering all across Ontario, Western Quebec, and the best part, delivery is free with a minimum order of $199. You don't even have to leave the house to get this quality. I've got a special code just for you. Use code LOCKEDON40 to get $40 off your first order at Farm to Fork. Visit farm2forkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's LOCKEDON40 for $40 off your first order. Farm to Fork, delicious, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door. All right, well, let's talk about it. The meat, like I keep saying, the meat and potatoes. It's Easter weekend. I bet you all are having your fair share, and the Blue Jays decided to add to that the meat and potatoes of this episode because, it was tough. Those last two games were tough. I mean, we go back and Carter. I mean, again, going to Berrios' start, he gives you 6 innings, 3 earned runs. The Blue Jays battle back a little bit, tie the ball game. It goes to extra innings. And the Blue Jays are given multiple chances to win this baseball game. And the offense puts up an absolute dud. The bullpen gives you a good chance for the most part. And then Jacob Barnes goes in. Carter, I'm going to eat a little bit of crow. I said, hey, it's not the end of the world, right? You don't bring back Yarbrough. You bring whatever, these two guys with the injury to Swanee and to Burr. It is what it is. Everybody's making it seem like it's the end of the world. And I sort of downplayed it. I said, it's not that big a deal. Well, Barnes has sucked. Lovelady's gone. My only saving grace is that Yarbrough isn't unbelievable so far this year either. It's just tough when these pitchers are put into situations and then blow the game. Barnes didn't play well. It was bad. It was a shelling. But, and I said this a little bit in my TikTok yesterday for those TikTok, Instagram, and short as well for those of you who saw any of those, that as mad as I am about the pitching, the offense had opportunities to come through and decide and couldn't. So, yes, Barnes sucked. But the rest of your bullpen gave you a great opportunity to win that baseball game, and the offense couldn't do a thing. I don't want to ask you who you're blaming more because it's tough, but at least for game 2, I'm blaming the offense.
It's not even tough for me. It's the offense. It's absolutely 100% chance the offense. Obviously, when you see Jacob Barnes give up 5 billion runs in the 12th inning of a game, like, it's not going to be exciting. You're not going to be like, oh, that's okay, Jacob Barnes. I'm okay with that. No, like, that sucked, obviously. But you have the 9th inning. Even against, let's even backtrack farther. You're against Logan Gilbert. He is one of the best pitchers in the American League. I get it. They were having pretty good at-bats for the most part against Logan Gilbert. They got him out of the game in 4 2/3 innings because they were having such good at-bats. They were getting deep into counts. He was having full counts, throwing 6, 7, 8 pitches to a lot of these batters. That's exactly what you want to do to a good starting pitcher. You get to him early on in the game. They didn't score a lot of runs early on in the game. They did have a lot of chances. They were getting to Gilbert decent amount. They weren't scoring. But again, it's Logan Gilbert. He's one of the best American League pitchers. I give them a little bit more slack for that. You get them out early in the game. You get into the Mariners bullpen. Again, they still do have a good bullpen. But let's jump forward to the 9th inning. You get Bichette on. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. walks. It is the bottom of the 9th inning. You have your 3, 4, and 5 hitters up. Santander, Andrus, Jimenez, George Springer. You should, at minimum, be able to get these guys over. Some people are calling for Anthony Santander to bunt in that situation.
No.
He's never bunting. That's just not going to happen. If Anthony Santander tries to bunt, he's probably going to miss the ball every single time. And if he gets a bunt down, it's probably going right back to the pitcher, and they get the out at third base anyway. So you let Anthony Santander free swing, has an okay at bat, hits the ball in the outfield, whatever. Then Andrus Jimenez, just not doing a job. You need one hit from either Santander, Andrus Jimenez, George Springer. Just not very good at bats there whatsoever. But then you have a chance. The bottom of the 10th inning, again, no outs, runner on second. You can't get anything done there. You can't do any jobs whatsoever. Can't move over runs. Can't get a sac fly to get him in. Bottom of the 11th, the exact same situation. Another chance to win that baseball game, and you don't get a hit. This is from the score, and they always have a lot left on base counter for these games. I don't even know if this is true because it's such a high number. I believe it is because the score is pretty reliable. But it says the Toronto Blue Jays left 32 runners on base in that game.
Yeah, so it's per situation, right?
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be total amount, but that's like, okay, every time. So let me take a look here. George Springer left 7 guys on base throughout all of his at-bats. So that's a combined number per at-bat. The Blue Jays had a chance to bring in 32 runners in different situations and were not able to. Anyway, sorry, back to you.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. When I saw it, again, I wanted to clarify that explanation, but they had, again, if everything went perfectly, they could have scored. If they get a home run every single at bat, you get 32 runs that's with runners on base. That's not accounting for when, if George Springer came up at the start of an inning with nobody on. So clearly in this game, they had a ton of chances to win the ball game. You don't get it done. And when you look at the third game of the series, you had Luis Castillo, you had Easton Lucas coming off a blow-up start. This felt like a game you really needed to win. And for me, by far, the most frustrating game of the season.
I agree with you. I 100% agree. This was a game that I was excited. I was into. I'm like, wow, you don't really get to see a whole lot of extra inning baseball. And it was fun to watch. And then you're like, oh my God, this team's offense just can't score runs. And I'm sitting there banging my head against the wall, trying to, stay into the game, but it's killing me. And Anthony Santander, over the last 2 games, had so many chances to do something. And he just did nothing. And I don't want to be the guy because, again, if he ends up finishing the season with 35 home runs, I'm going to look back on that and be like, wow, that wasn't a bad season. But timely hitting is so important. And these singles, even from Vlad, it's like, oh, that's great. But it's not what we're paying you money to do. We're paying you to hit those extra base hits in big situations. We're paying Anthony Santander to hit extra base hits in big situations. So them not being able to do this is frustrating. And then you go into Carter game 3. Because as much as I was upset with game 2 and how that went and how that unfolded, it was then blasted into my head a little bit more in game 3. And the whole Easton Lucas part of it, whatever. It is what it is. He didn't have a good day. You can't expect him to go out there and be Jose Berrios or Kevin Gausman. It's just not going to happen. He's a young guy. He said himself, he was horrible. So, whatever. But then, again, your team has time after time after time more chances to tie the ball game. Get back in this ball game. Anthony Santander, I don't know how many times, Carter, that he came up to the plate in a situation where, again, I'm looking at the left on base numbers for this game, 31 as well. 31 as well. Anthony Santander, 8 runners left on base just from his at-bats. This guy came up time and time again with chances to make a difference in a baseball game. I remember there was 2 different points Anthony Santander with a home run could have tied the baseball game. Your bottom of your order does their job. Bichette comes up, does his job. Vladdy does his job. He gets on base. Santander, Jimenez, both of them go 0 for 5, 0 for 4. Your 3-4 guys are going 0 for 5 and 0 for 4 in games that are winnable? That can't happen. It was so frustrating. And that was so frustrating because there were opportunities after Easton Lucas goes out and throws up an absolute dud of a game for your team to still somehow find a way to win that. And instead, you squander every opportunity. So timely hitting, Carter. I don't know if it needs to be the title of the podcast, but the Blue Jays need to find timely hitting. And I will die on that hill because it was the most frustrating weekend to watch with guys left on base, no extra base hits in big situations, no home runs in big situations. I was just losing my mind, I guess. I don't know. Both games, I was just livid, Carter.
Yeah, I mean, when your 3, 4, and 5 hitters go 1 for 13 in a baseball game, George Springer did have a double, but he didn't have a double at the right time. Like you said, he had a leadoff double. I don't even think he scored, actually, after that leadoff double. So it's just exactly like that. This team honestly, early in the series, looked like they were doing a good job at manufacturing runs. That first inning, that Bichette gets on base, steals a bag. They get him over to third base. I think Vladdy sack fly, and then Andrus Santander sack fly. That's a perfect example of manufacturing runs. But then it's like a switch flipped all of a sudden. You got to that second game, they start just, striking out. They're popping up in the infield. You can't have your 3, 4, 5 hitters go 1 for 13, 0 for 13, even like 2 for 13. You got to have them come up in those big situations, like you just said. Like the whole point of your lineup, if you were drawing it up from without like taking the players out of it, taking the all scenarios out of it, you want your 3, 4 hitters to come up in these big situations with runners on base. That's the whole point of your lineup. You want your number 1 and 2 guys to be on base for your power hitters, number 3 and number 4 guys. Clearly, we've seen it throughout the entire series. This team didn't get the timely hits, and they weren't getting the home run ball. They had 10 hits off Luis Castillo. They hit, I think, 4 singles in a row at one point. You only get 1 run off those 4 singles, where if you hit 1 home run out of any of those at-bats with those runners on base, you can get 4 runs, you can get 3 runs, you can get 2 runs. There is such a lack of the long ball, and it is hurting this team so much right now. And I know Santander, slow starter, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. having good at-bats, but at some point, how long are we going to wait for this? And I was talking, obviously, Easter this weekend. I was watching the game with my dad on Sunday, and he was asking about the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. contract, just asking about that kind of stuff. And he's just saying he's got paid $500 million. At some point, you got to expect him to hit home runs, right? Like if you're getting paid $500 million to do something, I know it's still early on, but at some point he is going to have to start hitting home runs, especially with that contract being under even more spotlight from Toronto Blue Jays fans after getting the 3rd highest contract in Major League Baseball. Whether it's Anthony Santander, whether it's Andrus Gimenez, I think we're starting to see the holes with Andrus Gimenez being at the 4th spot. Whether it's Daulton Varsho when he comes back, George Springer, someone needs to start hitting home runs. I think just everyone on the Toronto Blue Jays needs to start hitting home runs, because right now Andrus Gimenez is leading the team with 3. That is not going to play long term. And clearly, the Toronto Blue Jays at multiple times were honestly 1 home run ball away from having a good chance. Well, not a good chance, but having a chance at sweeping the series and for sure winning a series.
Yeah, they all the opportunity was there. Like they got to these pitchers who are what you say is one of the best pitching staffs in the MLB. And they had opportunity to take them to the woodshed. But instead, they let the opportunity fall flat and they squander it. So again, this team has to be better. Carter, and you know what? Out of all the negativity that there was, because again, this team is still above 500. I think they're a team that still can grind out wins, and I think that's a fun thing. And one guy I got to tip my hat to, Carter, above anything else, is Bichette, man. Bichette is so good. He knows what kind of player he is. He knows what he has to do. He makes things happen. He's the driver of this offense right now. So hat tip to Bichette, man. From the beginning of this season, everybody's asking the question of what Bichette we're going to get. Well, I think you're seeing exactly what kind of Bichette we're going to get. He has been, like I said, the driver of this offense.
Going into Sunday, he was leading the major leagues in line drives. He right now sits tied for 3rd in all of baseball for hits behind Aaron Judge and Brandon Donovan. If you're looking in the AL, he's just behind Aaron Judge. So look at that. Bichette is back and back with vengeance. There is 2 more things I quickly wanted to go over. I didn't really talk about the Easton Lucas thing. The command was horrific.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Absolute meatballs. That change up to Cal Raleigh. I don't think I've ever seen a more middle pitch in my entire life. And that's the last person that you want to throw that middle change up to. Horrific start from Easton Lucas. I did like that he did take accountability after and say, hey, like that was really bad. Like that's kind of on me. One thing we're going to have to see how this does play out, we won't go into it too much here, is do they roll out Easton Lucas again? Do they go to AAA and try to figure out if they can pull somebody else up? Jake Bloss, I hate that idea. I think leave Jake Bloss where he is. He has not started very well in AAA. You pull him up, you rush him into the major leagues, he gets blown up a few times, and then you have confidence issues. Not where I would go. If you really want to pull somebody up, I guess it is Eric Lauer. I don't love that idea either. I think at that point, you just roll out Easton Lucas one more time. And the other option is the guy that I wanted to talk about, and it's Paxton Schultz, just out of nowhere from the top rope coming into a game that I thought was completely over after Easton Lucas gets up 6 runs. And 4 1/3 innings, 8 strikeouts, ties the major league record for strikeouts in his first relief appearance. Just ridiculous things to keep a team in a ball game. And maybe a little bit of, optimism to have with this bullpen. And this is why, again, we're going to talk about the bullpen a lot more in our Tuesday episode, but this is exactly why I do not want Jacob Barnes or Richard Lovelady on this team, because I do understand, like I said, you have to go with this trial and error approach, but go with somebody with some upside. Like don't throw out 35-year-old Jacob Barnes or Richard Lovelady, who just really haven't had any success whatsoever. But shout out to Paxton Schultz, just giving us literally a chance to win that baseball game. Again, if he doesn't come into the game and you have maybe a Yariel Rodriguez, whoever it is, maybe they give up some more runs, and then we're not as mad, I guess, about this game because it probably would have been out of reach.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, great outing from him. He looked like he had his command. He knew what was working and what wasn't working, and I think that was a beautiful thing where he was relying on that high fastball, and then that's how he was getting a lot of guys. So great to see from him. Again, eventually it's going to, I think, be the same thing as maybe.
I got the fix here. I got the fix quick for this. This is what we do. This is the fix for the Toronto Blue Jays for this 5th starting rotation spot until Alek Manoah comes back. 2 games, get out of here. That's it. He's got 1 more, then next guy up mentality. Houston Lucas got 2. Paxton Schultz going to give us 2. Maybe it's Eric Lauer time after that. Maybe you go with some bullpen days. Maybe, throw Connor Cook up. He makes 2 starts, send him back down. Just keep rotating these guys in. Let them, throw 10 innings of scoreless ball and then get them out of here.
Yeah, it's because teams start to get a book on you, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can avoid that at least until either Scherzer is back or Manoah is back or whoever, maybe that is the play. Maybe it's like, hey, you got 2 games, go nuts, and then we're sending you back down. I don't know. But also, Carter, just one more thing. I know we're going to take this long because it's Monday and it is what it is. Alan Roden got hit by a cement truck this weekend, and we're not making a big enough deal about it. That guy got crushed. Rowdy Tellez, not only did he kill the Blue Jays on the scoreboard, I think he almost ended Alan Roden's life at first base.
And there's nothing he literally could have did. The throw took him over. He was running away from Alan Roden, and he still got blown up. Alan Roden just a very tough Saturday. Came up multiple spots against Logan Gilbert. Struck out on pitches that just weren't even close. Looked like very bad at bats. And then to top it all off, he gets run over by a bus. That's not a good Saturday, an Easter Saturday for Alan Roden. Tough series for him. And I mean, Rowdy Tellez just making us, I guess regret letting him go, even though he's been pretty bad since he's left the Toronto Blue Jays. But had a grand slam. I don't count that, whatever. I'm not counting that against Jacob Barnes. You don't deserve that one. Had a home run, though, and then obviously runs over Alan Roden, one of the most promising prospects in the Toronto Blue Jays system. So, yeah, get Rowdy out of town, I guess, might be the theme of this podcast. But, again, ton more that we want to go into. The Toronto Blue Jays, the baseball does not end. Still have another series that we want to preview. Much more that we want to talk about, and we're coming at you guys with all that stuff coming up.
So, Carter, like you said, a series to preview. The Toronto Blue Jays, the Houston Astros. I think if there was ever a time, Carter, to face the Houston Astros, I mean, it's probably right now. They're sitting 4th in the AL West, behind the Angels, behind the Mariners, and behind the Rangers. So, maybe a good time. We'll have to wait and see. But, of course, it is a 3-game set. The game 1 will be Kevin Gausman versus Brown, then Bassitt and Blanco, then Bowden Francis and Gusto, Ryan Gusto, that is. So on I guess would that be the Wednesday? Yeah. So 3-game set. I mean, again, you're hoping this team can stay above 500. That is the goal here. It has to be the goal. I think as we move forward throughout this season, it's going to be, can this team pick up distance on 500, or are you going to start to see the fall off at some point? And I think after this Mariners series, there are a lot of people that are asking the question, right? Is this Blue Jays team for real, or is this just a hot start, or other teams not starting as hot? This might be the series that puts it on the question. These Toronto Blue Jays are facing a lot of tough opponents, as they have been over the start of the season. But at some point, that can't be an excuse. You're playing baseball teams. You got to figure out how to win games. And 3 runs, 4 runs, 3 runs ain't going to do it. You got to be able to score. Will it happen against the Houston Astros here? I don't know. I'm going to have to throw a bet with Jim Toth on, I think, this week.
See, I'm going to be interested to see how they bounce back after a back-to-back games where they really just weren't good at manufacturing runs. And things do not get easier. You still have a very tough pitcher on the mound for that first game. Hunter Brown is ridiculous. So that is going to be a tough matchup. Are they going to be able to actually drive in some runs? Are they going to be able to manufacture runs? Are we going to actually see a home run in a series? This is in the Astros ballpark. We get away from the Rogers Center. Maybe a good thing because just the home run ball was not coming. Something needs to activate these guys. Something needs to ignite some fire into this lineup. We need to start getting home runs. I know the Astros have been struggling, but it's one of those things. that they kind of have that Braves lineup. Not nearly as good, obviously, because they did lose multiple guys with big impacts this season. Alex Bregman leaving. And obviously, I can't remember the other one for some reason off the top of my head. You might have helped me out. But yeah, it's one of those series that you're going to have to look at with the Astros struggling a little bit early on. You're going to have to take advantage. And Ronald Blanco has not been very good. So that's another guy. You have Chris Bassitt, your best pitcher on the mound so far this season. That's a game I'm going to say right now that is a must win for the Toronto Blue Jays. Ryan Gusto, a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience in the major leagues, but you do have Bowden Francis. So that will be an interesting game to watch as well. I think you need a series win here. I think you need a bounce back after that Seattle Mariners frustrating loss. I was okay with the series loss with the pitching matchups from the Seattle Mariners, but it's never fun, obviously, losing a series, especially the way the Toronto Blue Jays ended up doing it. So I'm going to give them the game win. I think Kevin Gausman is going to best Hunter Brown. I don't think the offense is going to put up massive numbers, but I think they do get it done there. And then I got Chris Bassitt, got a ride with the Hound on the mound. And I love Bowden Francis, but I think something is going to go around that game. You're not going to be able to sweep every single series. So I got a 2-1 bounce back series for the Toronto Blue Jays.
It's exactly what I have as well. I think this team has to now go out and prove something again to us. And they're going to have to do that a lot this season, I feel. But after the way they ended this past series, I think Kevin Gausman's going to go out there and be Kevin Gausman that we've seen this season. He's going to give this team every chance to win this baseball game. It's just what can the offense do? So I'm also going game 1 and game 2 as wins. Game 3, I think just Bowden Francis, I hate to say it, just it seems to be the guy that if a team is ever due for a loss, it seems like it's going to come on a Bowden Francis night because he just can't catch a break. He usually goes out there, pitches a gem, he'll give up a home run or something, and that'll be that. But he'll go throw 4 or 5 absolutely immaculate innings and then, let one fly, and then it sort of seems to crumble beneath him, or at least the rest of this team just doesn't back him up. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think the Hound continues to be just as good as he has been all season. Well, that's a lot to ask of a guy, but, hopefully anyway. Again, we got a lot more coming at you guys over the next couple days. Tomorrow, it is going to be a big bullpen episode because there were roster moves. We're going to talk about all that, how it impacts the team, because that is the interesting piece, right? We're going to bring up the Easton Lucas of it all, what happens, the Max Scherzer bit, just sort of where this is all at, plus some injury, just, how does this work when guys come back? We talked a little bit about Daulton Varsho, maybe it being Nathan Lucas. We're going to talk about that tomorrow as well. So a lot coming at you guys. Carter, before we kick out of here, I know that was a lot of information, a lot of coverage in one episode, but do you got anything that you missed or you wanted to just toss in here at the end?
Yeah, I'm going to quickly go over those roster moves because they did happen after that Saturday game. So I was going to throw it out there now. You saw Dylan Tate obviously pitch in that Sunday game. He was recalled from AAA. Paxton Schultz, you obviously saw him as well. That was a very successful start for him. And the reason that they had to pull up 2 guys is because Nick Sandlin, unfortunately, had a very hot start to the season, but was placed on the 15-day IL with a right lat strain. And then Jacob Barnes, thank God, I've been asking for it all season long. I knew this was going to happen. Jacob Barnes DFA'd. Don't know why he was on the team in the first place. And the guy I was forgetting is somehow Kyle Tucker, who has been one of the best hitters in all of baseball this season. Yeah. So with the Houston Astros, you don't have an Alex Bregman anymore. You don't have Kyle Tucker. There still is Jordan Alvarez. There still is, Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, Christian Walker can activate at any time. So they still do have a good baseball team. We know what happened when Ronald Blanco pitched against the Blue Jays last year. So again, there is a bunch of different ways this series can go. Hopefully it does fall the Toronto Blue Jays way. I want to say thank you guys for watching. The likes, comments, everything recently has been much appreciated. Just wanted to let you guys know we are pre-recording for tomorrow. We won't be covering the game. Winnipeg Jets Street Party. They won the first game. Braden did get tickets for the second one. So I'll probably have the Jays game streamed on my phone, but just, with the adventures that we are going to be going on, maybe some of the, the beers that we're going to be firing into our system, probably not going to have a ton of time to cover the game, but we are obviously going to have an episode ready for you guys. So a ton of stuff to cover with the bullpen. We haven't really been able to touch on a lot of that stuff. And like you said, Easton Lucas, well, how is that going to work out? How does the lower leverage situations of this bullpen, how are they going to work for the foreseeable future? And we got to pump the tires, obviously, of Jeff Hoffman, Yimi Garcia, who we just haven't really gotten a chance to talk about, who has been electric. So much stuff that we always want to bring you guys, and we are going to continue going on with the content. Braden, looks like you got one more thing you want to say. I'll throw it back over to you to end off the episode.
Yeah, we don't want to pre-record stuff. Obviously, we want to react to games. But this is sort of my actual also day-to-day job here, and being around the Winnipeg Jets and it being so great for our city here when stuff like this happens. We try to get out, and it's very hard to get tickets. And when you do be able to get tickets to one of these street parties, you want to take full advantage. And I was lucky enough to get some for me, Carter, my brother Jarvis and one of our friends. So, but we will be watching the game. We did it last year one time as well, or maybe it might have been 2 years ago. We had just the game on our phone. I think I was watching the Canucks game at that point of the year. But they were in the playoffs as well, so I had both screens going. So we're going to do that again, so we will be able to actually watch it. Hopefully, we'll be able to get you guys some post-game reaction. But we will continue on as normal throughout the week. And like Carter said, a lot more coming at you tomorrow, and we'll talk to you guys then.